She had recurring roles in T.J. Hooker and Who's the Boss, and was a regular on Charles in Charge before landing the role of rookie lifeguard Summer Quinn in seasons 3 and 4. She's had more than 100 shows and films in all. Here is the great Nicole Eggert. Hi, Nicole. Welcome back to Wizard World. It's been a while since you've been at one of our shows, but we're so happy to have you back.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
She is an actress, model, author, businesswoman. She appeared in Starsky and Hutch, Dracula 2, and the Nanny Diaries. She played lifeguard Leigh Dyer in season 11, the last season in Hawaii. Brande Roderick. Hey, Brande.
Oh, you're so crazy.
You ready to hit the beach?
Where's the bikini?
Welcome back to Wizard World as well.
Thank you.
She's appeared in more than 40 films and TV shows, including recurring roles in the soap operas Days of Our Lives and The Bold and the Beautiful. She played Lieutenant Taylor Walsh in season 8. Here is Angelica Bridges. Yay. Hi, Angelica.
Hi.
Welcome to Wizard World. I don't believe you've been at one of our shows before. I'm so excited that you are here and the three of you. So, I just went through those little bios, season 3 and 4, season 8, season 11. So it spans the whole expanse of this show. And I mentioned 1 billion people a week were watching the show when you guys were on it. What do you think made this show so popular all around the world?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I think for me, I think that it was really escapism for people. And there was a lot going on in the world that wasn't so fun at that time. And, they were able to turn on the TV and have Southern California in their living room and, have some good, clean fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, really.
Yeah. Like a fantasy, when you talk to people from other countries that don't live in LA or the United States, when they speak about watching Baywatch and why they love it so much, it was because they had never experienced anything like that. They really believe that, people run down the beach in slow motion in real life in California.
They don't?
Well, I do.
Yeah, I know, me too.
It depends.
And we had the Hoff. I mean, who doesn't love the Hoff?
Yeah. How instrumental, obviously, I mean, he was on the show during, 2 of you, he was acting, but even still, Brande, he was still very present with the show, producing and et cetera. How instrumental just was he to this show being successful?
Oh my gosh. Well, Nicole knows the background of that for sure.
Well, he really was, he has such a driving force behind him, just his personality and his energy in general. And, the show was so popular overseas, and he's very popular overseas with his singing. And, he performed when the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, he's a big deal over there. So I think that his charisma really, really it's such a driving force. He's such a powerful energy.
Yeah, he was a worldwide celebrity. So he really brought the whole world together to watch this show.
And what you see on film or television is like even 100 times larger than life in person. Honestly, yeah. When he would come on the set, it was like a force of nature. Him on singing and it just, if your vibration wasn't low, he raised your vibration.
Yeah.
Once he hit the room, it was like a tornado, and it was a good tornado.
Mm-hmm.
For each of you, what did being on this series mean for your careers? And what did you learn from being on this series? You guys all did different things. You've been very successful since. What was this show like for you? What did it mean for you guys?
Well, for me, it was a turning point even in my life of something that I needed so bad. I remember when I got the call that I got the job, I was at the Beverly Center and in the parking lot, and I literally dropped to my knees and started crying because I was so excited. And for me, I was lucky because I got to go to Hawaii, and it's such a beautiful spiritual place. And it was amazing for me, not only for my career, but for me as a person and spiritually, something that I really needed. And besides Playboy, I would say it's the best the best thing that's happened to me as far as really shaping my life.
For me, it was like being put on the map, you know, entertainment wise, or as a part of a cultural movement, if you will, a 90s cultural movement that Baywatch, you know, was a part of. So yeah, it definitely put me on the map in a big way to be in that many countries and have that much exposure.
I kind of had a different experience.
Oh, I know.
It's okay. That's what we're here for. Talk it through, talk it out.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was cast on it before it was this major show. And I had done a lot of work before. And so suddenly I was being turned down and casting doors were closing. You know, they were now a Baywatch babe and taken seriously. And, you know, when the show first hit, people really didn't get it. They were weirdly like offended by it and made fun of it a lot. So I kind of had to go through the growing pains with the show of people adjusting, accepting it being, you know, this hit that it was. So for me, and that's why I left the show, because I thought it was ruining my career.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was so young. I didn't know what to do. So I ran. And in hindsight, I would have stayed and I would have, you know, turned it around and made it into something positive. But instead, I just freaked out when I left and wanted to dissociate with it, which, you know, never works.
Now, we mentioned that you were all in different seasons, but you did all come together for the Baywatch Hawaiian Wedding movie. Now, had you guys known each other kind of before that, or was it the first time you got to kind of meet all together? And how much did you kind of bond, the three of you, on that film?
I know Angelica and I have known each other for forever. And Nicole, I'm sure that we met before the movie, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was the first time we really got to spend time together and hang out and get to know each other. Yeah. So that was fun. I mean, you know. Yeah. Time off the time. Why?
And then we all had a shoot for FHM while we were also there in Hawaii shooting for the TV Fox movie. We all had, you know, that photo shoot for FHM, which then became a cover.
And became the billboard in middle of Times Square, which was
I keep forgetting that. Oh, did anyone ever get a photo of that in Times Square when it was up?
My friend sent me one a long time ago, and I don't know.
I know.
Oh, I'm sure the internet has it somewhere.
Probably.
Cool.
Internet has everything.
Yeah.
So we have tons of great questions from people. Sweden is checked in. There's different countries still checking in. We'll just start with, you mentioned this earlier, and Brande, you came in this way. D Ward is Cool 93 wants to know who came up with the slow motion run.
Ooh.
Editors, the editing bay. We didn't really run in slow motion, guys. Trick after it's shot.
Michael Borer has a question. Wants to know, who was your favorite guest star to appear during your seasons that you worked with? Mine
was Pat Morita.
Oh, in the cross.
That's a great one.
Huge Karate Kid fan, and he was just the sweetest, wonderful man. And so for me, that was a fun one.
That's an awesome choice.
Yeah. Mine would have to be the giant octopus that attacked me.
Oh, yes.
The big rubber.
That's not a crazy storyline or anything.
Octopus, yes.
Yeah. And I think mine was the shark that almost attacked me, and Yasmin Bleep saved me. Carolyn saved me in that scene from the shark. So definitely the great white shark for me.
Oh my gosh.
Those are great.
I had to punch in the nose.
That's fun.
Now those are two great, action sequences. And there's a lot of rescues. There's a lot of running. There's a lot of water scenes. How much did you have to prove you could do that during the audition process? Wow. What did you have to show before you were cast?
Well, I know mine was
Go ahead.
Go in there was you had the audition, and you had to go for your screen audition, and then you had to go for the water test. And it was, swimming in a big Olympic-sized pool, going back and forth, being underwater. And then they wanted to see what you look like underwater coming up and how strong of a swimmer you were. So that was for mine. And I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but going to Hawaii was stronger. I don't know if it's stronger waters or what, but they wanted to make sure we were good swimmers.
Well, for my audition, yeah, it was the callback. And I remember David Hasselhoff was in the room and all the producers. And then right after I did my reading, I was kind of the last few of the girls going in. I remember seeing Carmen Electra there. And, you know, we were finished. And then they took me and Carmen down and another girl and had us put on the bathing suit, which I believe is this suit that came from that, because that's the day we had to try on to see what our girth, it was more like the girth fitting, what suit fit the girth. And Pamela had her name in this suit with a little Sharpie, and it actually fit me the best through the girth. I definitely didn't fill out the top like Pamela did, but I got in the suit. They took us to a place called The Tank, which was on their lot of where the Baywatch Productions was at the time. I think it was somewhere in Culver City. And we had to get in the tank and swim. And then Greg Bonin, I remember he jumped in, who's the producer, with goggles and looked at us to see what we looked like underwater while we swam, with our eyes open, with our eyes closed, with eyes open, with our eyes closed. It was a whole like we had to go through. Because, you know, I guess, you know, coming from a producer standpoint, that was important. I mean, you'd probably be the most beautiful girl physically and maybe a great actress, but if you looked, you know, like hell underwater, like a sea mouse,
you're blinking your eyes all
like, yeah, right.
Blowing bubbles.
Yeah.
Or going like this, holding your nose the whole time.
Oh yeah. Andy.
I was guilty of that. A couple of times. I had to do like a pier jump, and I had to redo it because right at the last minute I plugged my nose. So I was like,
I would have done the same thing.
But you had help, Nicole, to do the pier jump. You didn't have to do it by yourself.
no, I did it by myself.
One time you did. The other time you guys held hands, right?
Oh, maybe. You know, maybe. I don't know. I just remember having to jump off the pier 2 times. But, and I didn't have to go through the auditioning process, thank God, because that sounds horrifying.
Oh.
And I probably would have never landed the job. I would have never made it past.
The G-Boy 1973 had a similar question, whether you learned CPR and rescue techniques for the show. Did you learn any kind of techniques to kind of add to the realism, or how much of that did came into your filming?
A lot, because it had to be correct. It had to be on point and, you know, completely legitimate. And in fact, a little boy watching an episode in the UK, I believe it was in the UK, saved a life and he said he learned it on Baywatch, which was amazing. So those kind of details really, really matter.
Yeah. And I know that when we were over, we'd started our training, and it was really intense. And when we were in Hawaii, we actually, which is probably why Jason Momoa is so great and an Aquaman now, but we would literally take these huge boulders and we would walk along the bottom of the ocean. And that was part of our training. And then we would have to all be in a circle and hold these big boulders between our legs and pass them to each other. You know, all these crazy things. We got to a point where we were holding our breath for almost 2 minutes underwater.
Wow.
And then, you know, of course, CPR, you had to learn all the CPR and everything. The training was pretty intense, but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then I went to the YMCA. I think it was Greg Bonin had us go to the Pacific Palisades pool there. And 4:45 in the morning was our call. After I signed the contract, literally on a Friday, Monday, report to the YMCA pool, 4:45 a.m. in the morning. Pool was freezing, and, you know, getting in there and doing all kinds of training and laps and, you know, building up the cardiovascular and aqua, you know, vision. Yeah. And then he would also get under the water and coach you. And it was really intense. Yeah.
But it made you a better swimmer, right?
Oh my goodness. I was in great shape, like cardiovascular wise.
Yeah.
After doing all that training. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Eric NK58 had a similar question to that. So Eric, thank you for that. And then Chris_Baywatch TV says that they have the photo of Times Square. So Chris, if you're still watching, post it on our social so I can send it to you guys. Post it on our social, please. And thank you for that. And also, we'll make sure you get it. And Chris also had a question. So Chris says, it looked like the best job in the world, but what was the worst thing about shooting?
4:45 a.m. call time in the cold water.
Dirty water in Santa Monica Bay. Yeah, and having to put Vaseline on our back, on our spine, because supposedly that held in heat, so you wouldn't get as cold as quickly, from being in the water when it was 50 degrees. Or seeing sand sharks, like 40 of them swimming underneath your legs when you're like hanging on the barge when we're just kind of out of it, shooting a scene, and very intimidating seeing, all those sand sharks underneath you.
Yes.
Any others, Brande, Nicole, things that you were the most challenging?
You know what was really kind of the worst for me was when you would shoot a rescue scene and then you had to do like the onshore rescue part of it and you were wet and then you would dry and it was cold and they would spray you down with freezing cold water, and you like really trying not to shiver and, and it's like raining, it's cold outside. So I think that being cold was really like the worst of the worst for me.
See, I don't have any of these stories.
I know, you lucked out.
Why? So it was always warm. The water was warm.
Wow.
I didn't mind waking up at 5 a.m. because I was driving through the pineapple fields, smelling the pineapples on my drive to the North Shore,
Yeah, you had it good.
I know.
Yeah.
So Nicole, you mentioned that you came onto the scene. It was seasons 3 and 4. So the show was still kind of finding its way and you didn't know much about it. But, Brande and Angelica, you had in Brande, in your case, 8 years, 11 years to kind of see, did you follow along with either Nicole or any of the others to kind of get a sense of how you would perform on the show, or how much were you influenced by previous seasons?
For me, back in the olden days, we didn't have like the YouTubes and the internet to go back and really watch old episodes. So we couldn't like research all the, otherwise I would have, because I'm a researcher. I would have been like, oh, how did she do this? How did she run? How did she, jump off that pier? But we didn't have access to that to go back and look at previous seasons.
Had you watched the show at all in its run, or you just kind of, it was a job and you went into it, you knew what it was, but?
Not really, because, everyone will attest to this. Most Californians didn't watch the show. It was everybody, in the Midwest, and people that didn't have the beach. When you come from California, for me, I was living it. So, by the ocean. So I didn't really, I watched Who's the Boss. But yeah, so I didn't really watch it growing up. But of course I knew of it and it was the most exciting thing. And, it was great. And I knew all the girls were amazing.
So Eric Levitt, 387 says, Baywatch has helped me with autism. What was it like working with the Hoff, and what was the best scene you did with him on the show? We talked a little about him already, but what was like your favorite scene with him?
I think for me, we got to do a scene where I was being held hostage and captive inside of one of the lifeguard towers. And it was Alexandra, David, and I, and we escaped from it, and then it blew up. I love like pyrotechnics, and I love stunts and pyrotechnics and stuff like that. It's a fun day on set for me. So we were running as fast as we could, and the whole thing just blows up. It was really
I wonder if it was this one right behind there.
Yeah.
Want to remind everyone, if you're watching on Twitch or Facebook, on YouTube, go ahead and get those questions in. We're getting great questions from everyone so far all over the world that's watching today. Again, go to wizardworldvirtual.com for those live video chats these ladies are doing a week from today. So if you're watching us live, great. But if you're watching us on replay, next Sunday, which is the 15th, these ladies will be doing one-on-one video chats via Zoom with you. So go there and order those right away. You can also get autographs and the pre-recorded videos all at wizardworldvirtual.com. Another thing about the show, yes, it had great visual appeal, and that's maybe the first thing people think about it. But when you watch these shows, a lot of issues. There was a lot of drama. It was an adventure show, a little bit of comedy, but there were always issues and things that were important. What were issues that came up in your seasons or your episodes that you remember or that were important to you, and how the show dealt with those?
Well, I know in season 8, there was an episode called Charlie, and, it was about a little boy who was terminally ill and dying. Oh my goodness. And I love that the producers really wanted to almost, dedicate an episode to this little boy that inspired, especially Michael Burke, inspired him so much. And then, I think a few years later, he did end up passing away. So that episode in particular really, really impacted me. So, so I know, a lot of people always say, oh, it's just, all the hair and the boobs and running down the beach and the bodies and the tans. And, but I will give, producers credit. They did want to definitely put important issues out there as much as they could, mix it a little bit. They wanted to balance the episodes, obviously the eye candy, but yet at the same time, do some
good content.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Nicole and Brande, do you recall issues for you?
Well, my character dealt with an eating disorder, which I thought was pretty amazing, because with us all being in bathing suits and, all of that and all these beautiful bodies and beautiful people, I thought it was really great that they touched on, that it's an actual real issue for a lot of women, mostly, and men. But so I thought that was really good. I thought that was really good to address that everybody has those insecurities and those problems.
And I liked how my character was, the head lifeguard in charge of everything. So they made me a very strong, powerful character. And a lot of times in the show, I was going up against the dumb guys that would dismiss me as, the captain or whatnot. And I love that they made me a strong character to stand up to those guys and prevail. So I really love that they made a very strong female character. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm, whatever. It's like I was in charge of all these men.
Yeah, that was the great thing about the show, really, because, it got this reputation of it being, TNA and eye candy and all that, but there were really strong female characters. Even when you're just a pretty lifeguard, you're still saving lives. So, it was really very, very powerful and very good for women and image. And,
Yep.
I love that about the show.
Yeah, that's for sure. Marcus Behrens says hi to all from Lübeck, Northern Germany. And he said Charlie is one of his all-time favorite episodes. So, Angelica, thanks for that. I think Nicole, there was an episode in your season where a young lady came on, was a Make-A-Wish, I think, and she passed away. I think that you're right. This show was more than just the visuals. It was all those things that made it memorable. Todd Tremper says he sees that Angelica has your swimsuit from the show. Nicole or Brande, do you have your swimsuits from the show or anything else that you might have grabbed on the way, one of the rescue cans?
I have my swimsuit.
I do not. I have a jacket. I think I have 2 Baywatch jackets, which are fun.
Oh, I love those jackets.
Yeah, they're more. The most hideous looking things, but they're a lifesaver when you need them. They're so comfortable.
Yeah, and I remember I had like 2 cans, and they were stolen out of my garage one day.
Oh,
Of course, yeah.
jerks!
What I get for leaving it in the garage. Bad me. I should have put one in a box like this.
Were they signed? Were they all autographed?
No, they were just, but they were from my season, but I didn't have anyone sign it. I just took it home at the end of the day one day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, Nicole and Brande, you've been to our shows, and Angelica, I'm sure you've been to some other Comic-Cons. What do fans say to you? What do they bring up to have autographed that's interesting? What's kind of their memories of the show that they share with you?
It always surprises me. It amazes me how much the fans know so much more than I do about the show, and it's always like so interesting to hear. And they know about sub storylines and, just really fun, quirky little bits of knowledge about the show. So I always really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
What are some interesting things they've had you sign?
Mostly bathing suits. I just got a box of bathing suits that this guy wanted signed, and I pulled them out, and I kid you not, they were bigger than my daughter, and she's 9. And I was like, what are these? And it's a box of like 100 of them. I'm like, oh my Lord. Sitting there, they were like blankets across the table. Yeah. So weird. I was like, who wants these? Nobody, the bathing suit is not cute anymore.
Oh my God.
It looked humorous. It looked funny. So, and my little signature on this huge bathing suit. So, but people like it. They just, I mean, it's all for that patch, I guess.
Yeah, the bathing suits, the cans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jorge Vieira just asked that question at the same time as we're asking it. But the other question that Jorge asked, and Nicole, you mentioned your daughter. Has she seen the show? Angelica and Brande, do you have younger ones who've seen the show, and what do they think?
I try to make kids watch it, and they won't. They're like, Mom, I'm bored. Can we go watch something else?
Yeah, mine too. My daughters are like, whatever. Like, they're not to that extent, but I almost feel like that. They don't care. They're like, whatever. That was in the 90s. Oh my God, that's like, you're a fossil. And so it's kind of funny. What about yours?
My oldest is like that.
Hopefully your daughter's sweeter than mine.
My oldest daughter, who's 22, couldn't be bothered. Like, it's okay, great. I don't know who that person is. She's like, whoever that was, who you were, I don't know her. But my youngest, she liked it. She watched a couple episodes, and actually one of her best friends really got into it and like watched a few seasons. And I was surprised by that. A lot of the young kids are watching it again, and there's this whole new generation of audience, and they have no idea who we are, and it's just really funny.
Yeah, it is cool that it's coming back, that is really neat. I like seeing that.
Well, all the seasons are on Hulu, but Pluto TV has a Baywatch channel. So it just runs 24/7, different episodes starting, and sometimes they're random, sometimes they're in order, and it's just a channel that you can put on any time, and whatever episode's on, that's the one you watch. I think there've been a lot of season 8 ones that have been on recently on there, but it's it shows that the show, like they've dedicated a channel to this show. So
it was on Amazon
years after it debuted. It's still, what's that?
It was on Amazon for streaming for quite a while too, and I think that's where it really kind of picked up its momentum. And that's like these two girls are in it. Producing on a documentary about Baywatch, and it sort of gave us that idea. It was like all these young people watching it. I'm getting, fan mail and friend requests and social media messages from young people who should have no idea who I am at all. And so we're really kind of trying to reintroduce everybody and show them, who we all are today. So it's great. The show will never die.
Yeah. And speaking of like 9-year-olds, I got a cameo today, and this guy said, when I first went to the beach, 9 years old, I ran in slow motion. I am the biggest Baywatch fan. The show let me know it is okay to be vulnerable. And I love writing and letting my characters be vulnerable. So I thought that was really cute that at 9 years old, how to be vulnerable from watching our show. Yeah. And he's a writer now and makes his characters vulnerable. I thought that was cute.
So again,
that's saving lives, but changing lives.
Yeah.
So Nicole, tell us about the documentary and how much of this interview is going to be in it.
Well, if you guys send me a recording of it, I'll make sure it gets in there. I tried to record it, but it wouldn't let me.
We got you.
Okay. It's like an intellectual look at Baywatch and how it became such a phenomenon in pop culture before we had social media. And before, there were all these, social media platforms, and it really kind of set trends across the world and affected plastic surgery. It really sort of changed the world in a way that people don't really realize. So we're really kind of focusing on that. And again, like I said, reintroducing everybody and how it changed their life and what they got from the show and what they took from the show. And it's really been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot about it, and we're still shooting through the pandemic, so it's a sort of like full circle too, because it's an escapism show, And now we'll do the documentary when people need escapism. So it's all very full circle. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these things you're saying, fans are in our chat rooms and they're saying the same things. Whitney Carson says, you all look amazing. What's the secret? Can't wait to see the documentary. Jorge wants to know when it's going to be released. What platform? Do you have plans yet for that? Is that still in the works?
It's still in the works because we're still shooting. And since the pandemic, we have to shoot at a much slower pace. Everybody has to get tested. We can only do one person at a time, spread it out over a few days, so it's slowed the process down, but we hope to be done and start editing in the spring. So, and we do not know about where it will air or anything like that yet. We will cross that bridge when we have a finished product.
Yeah, and don't worry, Wizard World Virtual will know, and we'll let everybody know. Brody Barraza wants, I don't think it's Matt Brody. Brody Barraza says, wasn't even born yet when the show came out or ended because I was born in 2004, but absolutely loved the show. All the characters brought their own spin and all was amazing. And that leads to a question or a note. I mean, 3 different characters here, 3 completely different eras of the show. It seemed like every year there'd be new lifeguards came in, came out. I want each of you to make a case for your season being the best set of lifeguards.
Oh, they're all great.
I want to know that yours are the best. Nicole, why was season 3 and 4? Why were yours the best?
Maybe because they brought in we were in high school, and the whole reason for bringing us on the show was to do a spin-off. Originally they wanted to do a high school show by the beach, so it's kind of like how my character came about, which none of it ever happened. But so I think it brought in this younger audience, and we were in high school and there was this love triangle, and it's really kind of when the show hit and became this number one show. So we were the best. Totally.
Angelica, season 8. Why is it the best?
Well, Pamela had just left the show, so they had to bring on 3 girls to replace one Pamela because one girl would not just do, because Pamela left such a big space. So I guess I'll say that because there were 3 new faces, 3 new girls that came on, and just gave it some new energy, I guess, trying to compensate for Pam.
Well, and that's right. We had Pamela Anderson, so we had Pamela Anderson.
You had Nicole Eggert.
Well, we also had Pam, so that's why we were the best.
And Brande, why was Hawaii the best?
Ours was the best because after 10 years of the same old beach, you finally got to go to a new beach in Hawaii, of all places. Tropical beaches, warm waters, gorgeous men, and we had Jason Momoa.
Brande wins this one.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right. We can't compete with that.
Hawaii is everything.
And what's funny is that I remember them actually trying to negotiate with a beach in Australia. So you could have actually been in Australia, Brande.
Yeah.
Australia wouldn't have it. Australia wouldn't allow Baywatch. They had been trying for years and years and years, and Australia would not have the show filmed there.
Wow.
Seriously.
That's
I was
crazy.
so sad. I had my hopes up, but it never happened.
Yeah, okay.
Now, when you all came back together for the Hawaii movie, how was that? It was a kind of reuniting, but at the same time, it was taking different eras and bringing them all together. What was shooting like for that, and what was it like just getting a chance to all be together?
For me, it was the dream, because I had always wanted to move to warmer water, and Hawaii is one of my most favorite places on earth anyway. So for me, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the golden ticket for Baywatch, to be shooting with all these, wonderful people that I've never met before, and shooting in these beautiful beaches and warm water. And it was just like, I couldn't get there quick enough.
And for me, it was awesome because I was going back home. I was so excited to go back to Hawaii. And I got to now finally be in a movie, a Baywatch movie, with the Nicole Eggerts and Angelica Bridges and Pam Anderson and Yasmin Bleeth and Gina Lee Nolan, like all the greats that ever were on Baywatch. I finally got to be on something with them. So for me, that was like super exciting. And the Hoff, because when he was on the show, he didn't do Hawaii. So I got to also be with him on the movie. So for me, it was like full circle. It was just perfect and awesome.
Now I have a question, Brande, for you. Did David, because he was producing your season, but he wasn't acting on it.
Right.
How many times was he around? Was it just, sporadically, or was he there every episode? Like
He wasn't
there at all.
I think he came a couple times.
Okay.
But yeah, so the time that I really got to spend time with him mostly was on the movie. Yeah. It was great.
And Nicole, you mentioned the love triangle. Chris, Baywatch TV, wants to know, who do you think was the best partner for Summer? Was it Slade, Matt, or Hobie?
I thought that, I think that they were all toxic. I don't think relationships were good.
Only one taught you how to surf, though. So there you go.
Okay, so I got surfing lessons out of it. I think it was all just young love, puppy love, and a mess. Learning life lessons.
That's great. So one other question that folks had here, they wanted to know, they wanted you to rate the all-time Baywatch guys. Who's the number one all-time Baywatch guy?
That's hard. I mean,
Well,
I
Hasselhoff.
think it's David. Well, yeah, and then because David Hasselhoff is like the pinnacle, and then I always just like get David Chokachi for that Malibu Baywatch, and I get that Jason Momoa kind of Hawaiian thing. So I think these two kind of dominating, but then you can't forget like the real lifeguard, like Numi. What about Numi? He's freaking awesome, So it's just, I guess it depends on what you're going for, like, are you going for the brawny, gorgeous stud muffin, or are you going for like the real heart and grit of the show? I guess that's.
Yeah, like for me, Billy Warlock, because he was, the original, and he kind of started the show. So I always think of him as like the quintessential, and also Parker Stevenson. I loved Parker on the show, and they both brought a lot to their characters, and the acting was they've got the skills, those guys. So not that the other ones don't, it's just like they really brought something extra and deep to their characters, which I adore.
And we have to give a shout out, because he was on maybe even the most episodes for men, is Michael Bergen. He was there throughout everything. So
made it to Hawaii and everything from,
He's amazing. Sweetheart.
So last question before we kind of open it, was again from Chris, who's had some great questions. And we want to thank the Instagram at Baywatch_TV for being very helpful here too. Chris wants to know where you
Baywatch documentary on Instagram. Go check that out too.
So there you go.
There's a lot
wants to know where you think your character would be today. What would your character be doing today, 2020, besides holing up in your house?
My character at the very end got back together with Jason, which was played by Jason Momoa. So I'm going to fantasize and say we'd be on the beaches in Hawaii with all of our little babies, having a wonderful life and lifeguarding together.
I like it.
Angelica, you'd be running Baywatch, right?
Yeah, I think Lieutenant Taylor Walsh would be selling real estate in the Palisades in Santa Monica and Malibu, and like being the top real estate agent, because she was so dominating on the show and such a, not nice. Like she's always trying to ruin everyone's fun, or someone's trying to make up, break it up. I think she just decided, you know what? I'm just tired of this. I'm going to go sell real estate and I'm going to dominate. So I could definitely see her being a stellar real estate agent.
And what about Summer? What's Summer doing today?
Well, Summer went away to college, so I'm gonna go with she went to medical school and became a doctor.
How about a plastic surgeon? Was she a plastic surgeon?
Oh no. Summer didn't even wear makeup. Okay.
Yeah, very fresh, natural.
So, the one girl or whoever asked earlier, how do you guys all look so good? Well, guys, it's all smoke and mirrors. Let me tell you, it's like fake. We don't look like this in real life. I don't want everyone to get think that this is all real. And then,
I had to cover my zits this morning with concealer.
I have a pimple right here too.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
That must be a hormone thing, because that's where I'm getting mine too.
It is.
And I woke up with super puffy eyes. So I had I had the eye patches on all morning.
Yes, I love
super
those.
glamorous.
I had ice cubes under my eyes.
You realize none of us believe you at all.
Oh, it's true.
We don't believe any of this nonsense.
The truth is mimosas. There you go. Mimosas in the morning.
There you go.
So before we close up, I promised that this would go really quickly, and it did. We're already near the end of the time here, but just want to go around the horn and just have you just kind of talk either about something you're working on, Nicole, or a cause, anything. Nicole, we'll start with you.
Well, right now I am homeschooling. So it is something I did not sign up for. It's very challenging, and I'm testing my patience with that. Luckily, I do have the documentary that we're working on, so that distracts me a bit, but really I'm locked up at home, cooking and cleaning and homeschooling.
Brande?
I know that feeling. I'm doing the same thing. It is very difficult being a teacher. So kudos to all the teachers out there, the mom teachers too. But I am now, I have a vineyard on my property. So I am now in the process of making my own wine. It's going to be a rosé called Terra Rosé. And so that's kind of fun. It's been a fun process, and I'm kind of in the middle of that right now. That's
awesome. Our producer, Mike G, said you're drinking Jason mimosas right now.
Yeah.
Ba-dum-bum. Angelica, your life now.
Okay, so I am getting ready to launch a dessert line and a home line. It's very similar to Martha Stewart, but obviously a totally different take and vibe and version of that. But I'm also a pastry chef, so I'm kind of, combining my desserts and home
and she's amazing, by the way. Her stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Gardner, just as we close out here, Michael Gardner says he met Nicole and Brande at Sacramento, Wizard World. And he says he agrees with me. There's no smoke and mirrors. You guys look great. And super nice to boot, which was true. And Whitney Carson just saying thank you for all the time today from you guys. After the pandemic, he hopes to meet you guys in person. And we hope to be doing Wizard World shows in person again, and certainly have you guys as part of it. Want to remind everyone, if you go to wizardworldvirtual.com, that's the place for those live video chats, which we'll be doing a week from today, Sunday the 15th, with each of these ladies. In addition, we have autographs available that they'll personalize for you, as well as recorded videos like the one that Brande was talking about before. You just send into us what you want then to kind of talk about. And those are a great memory as well. Wizardworldvirtual.com. That's the place for all of that, as well as all of the upcoming events we have starting tomorrow with the Veterans Day celebration with Pinups for Vets, which is a great group that we can support. On Thursday, Last Fan Standing with Bruce Campbell, test your trivia knowledge. And then on Friday, we'll have Chris Perillo from the independent film Nothing from Something. So for Nicole Eggert and Brande Roderick and Angelica Bridges, I'm Jerry Milani. Thanks for joining us today at wizardworldvirtual.com. We'll see you again really soon. Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
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 This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.